guys, we did it. We're finished with middle school and moving on. I wonder what we learned in high school.
Creative problem-solving skills so we can think of innovative ways to approach and solve problems.
Self-awareness, self-reliance, and self-discipline are important so we can plan to set and meet realistic goals.
Technical literacy, so we know how to connect and use technology to succeed in society and life.
Communication and collaboration skills are important so we can communicate with each other to achieve a common purpose.
About community engagement, it's important to know how to respect cultural differences as we engage in school and local activities.
Don't forget about integrity. We need to take responsibility for our actions and act with honesty and sincerity. I know that Elk Grove Unified School District graduates learn all of these important skills to help us succeed in college, career, and life.
Our future starts here.
Hey, I got some cigs. You want some?
I don't know.
What's up?
Who are you?
I'm the don't smoke dancer.
Well, what do I do?
Say no, thank you, and walk away, and walk away.
Say
No, thank you, and walk away, and walk away. Bye.
Bye.
So,
Say no, thank you, and walk away, and walk away.
that's cool.
On September 11, 2001, a tragedy happened at 8:46 a.m. A plane crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City. People all over the world were in shock and did not understand what was happening.
I was at the gym, and it was like 5 in the morning, and I was on the treadmill, and I saw the Twin Towers go up in flame, and my first reaction was I really didn't understand what was going on, whether it was a movie clip or whether it was live. And then as they were talking about it, you know, I went home, showered, and you know, then there was more news coming up, and once they found out that there were some Islamic terrorists who did that, that's when I really started worrying.
I was here in my classroom, and it's the first day of school for these fourth graders. As I just explained to you, we spend a lot. It's very important that first day. And feel comfortable because it's very, very scary when you're so old, and there are all these like huge, not just sixth graders, but 7th and 8th and 9th and 10th and 11th and 12th graders. So the first day that morning, making them feel really comfortable. So I remember really, really well. I was taking them on a little tour. So what I do is, I do less, but now we show them around a little bit. I show them where the bathrooms are, where the water fountains are, and I was walking by our office, our middle school office, and one of the administrators' assistant came out and said, I have to tell you something. I have to talk to you. And I looked at her and I said, go away. This is not, why are you wanting to stop and talk to me now? It's our first day of school. You know how important this is. And then I went back to my classroom. And at some point, I wish I could remember, finally, I think the director came in and he told me that something had happened. And we were actually doing, you know, cursive, like remember cursive handwriting? You guys still do that? So we would do a test to check if they could do it. And I remember they were showing us they could do cursive. And I couldn't remember what he told me. I'm sure it was such a shock. And he just said something. And after that, the rest of the day was it was like I've been in a couple of really difficult situations. And this was one of them. So it's almost like you're standing outside of yourself. You're watching almost yourself. So I was so, felt so responsible for these children. And we didn't know. We thought the whole place was going to be, people didn't know what was happening. I mean, the whole country didn't know what was happening.
On September 11th, I remember that I was getting ready for work and I turned on the TV. And when I turned on the TV, I saw a plane hitting the first tower in New York. from the Trade Center. And I remember thinking, this can't be real. Like, this must be a movie trailer or something that they're advertising. And then I realized that it was a news broadcast. And I realized that there was something obviously major going on. And at first I thought, oh, well, it had to be an accident. There's no way that this could be something that was done intentionally. And I remember I went and I woke up my husband and I said, a plane has hit the World Trade Center. He said, no, it hasn't. There's no way. And I said, no, you got to come. You got to look. And so he did, and we just sat there thinking, what is going on? And then we saw the second plane hit, and that was kind of the time where we realized that there was something actually going on that was worse than just an accident, that we were being attacked.
Yes, my experience on September 11th is that I was teaching 5th grade in Prince George's County, Maryland, which is in Landover, Maryland, which is about maybe a mile from the DC line, a mile or two from the DC line. And I was teaching 5th grade. I believe we were reading a story or something like that. And it was a beautiful day, Tuesday, bright sunny skies, and someone came to my door. And I wasn't sure if they were from the office or where they were from, but they just kind of handed me a note and said, were you aware of what was going on? And so I began scanning over the note and, reading it, and it said something about the Twin Towers being down in New York and the Pentagon being hit and terrorists, and it was kind of all foreign to me at the time because it was something that we just were unfamiliar with. So it told us, because this was a visual and performing arts magnet school, and so we had television, there were TVs in every room, and we were asked to turn off our TVs so to make sure that that the kids weren't exposed to what was going on. And because of our close proximity to DC, to the Pentagon, and the events that were occurring at the time, the kids were coming, were leaving. Parents were picking their students up, their children up one by one. And so it was very frightening, actually, because we really didn't know if we were still under attack. We were told that all planes were grounded at the time. And so we didn't know if it was an active attack. Was it, were we being attacked from above, or what was going on? So it was quite unsettling that day.
There were plenty of strong reactions after the tragedy happened. People did not feel secure of going to places. After this action of terrorism, many people were more aware and cautious and grieved those lost in the event.
It was horrendous. I wish it didn't happen. It was a very sad event. It was just heartbreaking.
Well, I think it was just kind of initial shock at first, just kind of getting used to what we were dealing with, and kind of a new normal. Kind of understanding that, that there were people who did not like the United States and that were trying to, attack us. And so that was kind of a different mindset to deal with. I would say that I did not look at the Pentagon for a long time, for months. I never drove by. I didn't go down to the downtown area for a long time. I didn't get on the train. I didn't take the metro for a long time. Probably for maybe 6 to 8 months before I made it back down, and actually drove and looked at the gaping hole that was the Pentagon. But at that time, they were trying to fix it. They had like scaffolding on the side of the Pentagon. But it took a while. It was definitely unsettling, and it just kind of took a while to kind of process what was happening.
And so everyone was extremely unsure about what was going to happen next. And I remember everybody being worried about what they would do. Would they go out in public? Would they go to public events? Would there be another attack? And so our whole country was concerned about what was going to happen next, and we weren't used to that. We were used to feeling very safe in our country, and all of a sudden we didn't have that same sense of security.
It was like the smell and the paper. And then when we went back to school, already right away you started seeing all the notices for missing people. Have you heard about that? There were just notices every day, more and more. People put up these lost notices, like when you do a lost cat. They're just everywhere, plastered. And then also, everywhere you would see little memorials for people, like you'd walk by a house or something, and there'd be candles and flowers, and clearly somebody had died who was in that house. And it was just a tough time. And then the other thing, I'm in a school, I think maybe this happened to a lot of schools, we started getting bomb threats. So we would get these bomb threats, and it's interesting, my students, they were far, I don't think they didn't really know what was going on, but the bomb threats, we would have to leave the building and we'd be standing out there for hours, and that was just so upsetting. And there was always police activity, and things were being closed off all the time. There were like tanks going through the city, like we were armed militia all the time. It was a very, very scary time.
After the event, there was a large amount of discrimination against the Muslim community.
Of course, I was really sad about what was happening with so many people dead, but when they actually started saying it was the Islamic terrorists, I really started worrying about what would happen to a lot of the people, the Muslim people who live in the United States and across the world. Because terrorists are terrorists, they are extremists, they don't represent the rest of us. And that's when a lot of my friends who live here, they called me and they asked how I was doing, and if anything bad were to happen, that they would, I could go to them, which was very nice. These were, a lot of my American friends who were not Muslims, so I really appreciated that. We also had other friends and family members who wore the hijab, who were afraid to go out because we had heard that there were other people, yelling at them. And, when something like that happens, everybody gets really upset. And sometimes you just want to get your anger out. So, a lot of people were reacting that way.
I think at first there was really a rallying around our country, and there was a unification between people. Everyone was showing a lot of pride in our country, and a lot of people came together to support the people who had been directly affected by September 11th. There was a lot of support for our first responders. There were firemen and police officers who went for days and weeks and months looking for survivors, just looking through the rubble. And so I think in some ways that showed the best of our country. But unfortunately, I think that it also in some ways showed the worst of our country. Soon after the attacks, when we found out that they were carried out by an Islamic fundamentalist radical group, then there were a number of people who, out of both ignorance and fear, started to blame all of the Muslim community in our country. And there was a lot of ignorance about which people were Muslim, and so many people faced danger even if they weren't Muslims, just because they thought that they looked that way, like members, for example, of the Sikh community. And so it did bring out a lot of good things in our country, but it also brought out a lot of discrimination.
Well, I think initially it was a good thing in terms of how people were bonding. A lot of people were, having pride in the country. People were helping each other. People were proud to be Americans. People were kind of looking out for each other. And then I think later on it kind of turned to a negative, where people were attacking certain Muslim groups and things like that. And so initially it was bonding together, and then it kind of made a turn for the negative.
9/11, it was really pretty disgusting. I was really, really, really upset about the treatment, especially after people were being targeted, and I know you've done work with the Japanese Americans and the internment and the unfairness of that, and this was just horrific. It was really terrible, terrible, terrible. And I don't know what else to say, except I do remember it happening and reading about it, knowing about it, and thinking it was a really awful, awful thing that was going on after 9/11.
We all wish we could take that back, and we don't know why terrorists do such things. I just feel like, they just got some anger, or I don't know, they just want to feel powerful, or it's, and people who do such things, I feel like, there's something, they don't feel like they belong in society, or, they try to find some ways to, I don't know, make themselves feel powerful, or make themselves, be known by the world for some crazy reason. So, that's my story. It was a tough time for everybody, because, we're not extremists. We are contributing members of the American society. I've been here, for about 30 years. My children were born American citizens. We have, I know people who've been here for 50, 60, 70 years, so this is all they know. And yet, everybody else was labeling them as bad people just because of the acts of some crazy extremists.
This tragic event will always be remembered because of the big impact it made in our country. To learn more about September 11, visit the 9/11 Memorial Museum website at www.911memorial.org.
A sound of wasted water. 10 drips every minute waste about 526 gallons of water per year. More than 70% is used outdoors. Water your lawn after sunset to prevent evaporation. Make sure that hoses and faucets are turned off properly and be the change. Wasted water comes with a cost. To learn more, go to www.bewatersmart.info.
My head feels tangled up like the headphones in my pocket. 2 words and you got me. 2 nights and you told me. So go, go. Your heart has to be followed. Whoa. 'Cause we all got a dream. Gotta be somebody, be someone. 'Cause we all got a dream. Gotta be somebody and be someone. 'Cause we all got a dream. We gotta be somebody and be someone. 'Cause we all got a dream. Gotta be somebody, be someone. So please, be somebody with me. Piles of magazines left from 2 months ago. I'm clinging to old news, memories I'm scared to lose. Now I find reminders down the sofa and under the bed. 3 words could have made you stay. 3 words that I left too late. So go. Your heart heart has to be followed. Whoa, 'cause we all got a dream. Gotta be somebody, be someone. 'Cause we all got a dream. Gotta be somebody, be someone. So please, be somebody with me. If you feel like running, the grass is greener inside your heart, and I'll be there if it falls apart. Love who you're becoming. Sometimes we win, but sometimes we fold. Your story still remains untold, so go. Your heart has to be followed, and whoa. 'Cause we all got a dream. Gotta be somebody, be someone. 'Cause we all got a dream. Gotta be somebody and be someone. 'Cause we gotta be somebody and be someone. 'Cause we all got a dream. Gotta be somebody, be someone. So please, be somebody with me.
Conversion therapy. It's a topic that's come up a lot in this past election and in recent years.
Conversion therapy for young LGBT individuals.
Support for conversion therapy.
Train away the gay.
So-called conversion therapy.
It harms so many of our children.
Emotional torture against our most innocent citizens, our children.
But what is it really? To answer this question, we turn to some experts.
Conversion therapy attempts to change the sexual orientation of a person who is gay, lesbian, or bisexual.
There are three aspects to conversion therapy. Some kind of a group therapy thing. There's usually always some kind of religious backing behind it. If you are a Christian, then you are no longer gay because the two are incompatible, so therefore you're ex-gay. And the third piece of that is reparative therapy, which takes a more psychological approach to conversion therapy.
It's more damaging than it is helpful.
In fact, according to the American Psychological Association, sexual orientation was unlikely to change due to sexual orientation change efforts, and the National Association of Social Workers states that conversion therapies cannot and will not change sexual orientation. Sexual orientation change efforts have been around since the 1800s. First Do No Harm, California's LGBTQ population report, reads that early and more extreme attempts to change gay men's sexualities included electroshock, lobotomies, and while these techniques aren't in use by modern practitioners, conversion therapy and its roots are still harmful.
There are well-documented cases of psychological and sometimes physical harm that come to young people who are subjected to it.
In a really fundamental way, it's damaging to the psychology of the individual youth. It's damaging to their sense of self, their identity, whether it be their sexual orientation or their gender identity. Trying to force someone to be something that they're not can be incredibly damaging to their development as an individual, to their relationships with others, and can really put additional stresses on their life that will cause harm across the spectrum of their development.
Coming out of conversion therapy, I didn't realize how much damage had been done, where there is always with me a sense of shame. I always feel this sense that I haven't lived up to who I'm supposed to be, or no matter how many degrees I've earned or how many books I write, that I've never attained quite enough. I live with that every day. You have to understand from the point that they're coming from, as typically religious parents, again, they believe that they're doing what is right, and so you have this battle between their religious freedom versus this kid's just personal freedom. So from a kid's standpoint, they're putting that kid at an incredible risk just emotionally. So we find people who are unhappier, we find people that will attempt suicide more often, we find people who will get more addicted to drugs or alcohol, and we find them to participate in more at-risk behaviors because of what they experience when they go through conversion therapy.
While these therapies have dangers of their own, their existence speaks to a larger problem concerning the safety and acceptance of LGBT youth, or rather, the lack of that safety and acceptance, which has serious consequences.
Some of them have really supportive families that will love them and support them, whoever they are. And others really face a lot of stern rejection from their family members. It could be anybody, really, who treats them well or treats them poorly.
According to the Human Rights Campaign, highly rejected LGBT youth were more likely to experience depression, attempt suicide, use illegal drugs, and be at risk for HIV and STDs, when compared to those who experience little to no rejection. Rejected youth need protection and acceptance. Of course, we as individuals cannot change every environment, every mind, but 45% of LGBT youth feels their state government isn't accepting of them, and 34% feel the same way about their local government, both governments meant to protect them and their rights. Some states, of course, have recognized the harm of conversion therapy and of supporting it. Conversion therapy is illegal in California, Oregon, Illinois, New Jersey, Vermont, and our capital, Washington, D.C. But 5 states out of 50 is not enough. So we ask you, our Congress and new president, to take on the urgent issue of conversion therapy and ban this harmful practice in 2017. No minor should feel left behind or forgotten because of who or how they love.
Ugh, my sink is clogged again. I wish I knew how to stop it.
Well, I can give you more info. Just stop putting fog down the drain.
Huh? What?
Most clogs and backups are caused by fats, oils, and grease, or fog going down the drain. This includes things like butter, meat, fatty foods, milk and dairy products, cooking oils, salad dressings, mayonnaise, bacon, and lard.
What am I supposed to do with it then?
When you have some extra fog, just wait until it's cooled and store it in a sturdy container. Then just throw it away when it's full. Simple.
Thanks for teaching me, boys.
Learn more at sacsewer.com.
You will need crafts glue, shaving cream, contact solution, whatever food coloring you would like, a bowl, and a spatula to mix your ingredients. Start by pouring your bottle of glue into the bowl. Then add 3 squirts of shaving cream. Add 10 squirts of contact solution into your mixture. Now mix together the ingredients. Add 2 squirts of food dye into the mixture. You may now start using your hands to get the slime to the right consistency. Finally, your slime should look like this. Now you can make slime in every color for your family and friends.
Guitars, pianos, and drums. These are just a few of the instruments that students at Franklin High School got to jam out with when the John Lennon Educational Tour Bus came to visit their campus.
The John Lennon Bus is a mobile recording studio that is a nonprofit organization all focused on carrying on the legend of John Lennon and spreading his message of peace and love through making music with students.
And make music they do.
Pretty girls and starting conversations. All my friends are turning green. In their dreams.
They celebrated their 20th year with the very newest technology and gear. The bus continues to be dedicated to providing young people with tours of the studios and participation in free digital media production workshops.
So the typical recording session with students is an 8-hour day where we write an original song, record that song and then shoot a music video to go along with the song. So it's a lot to get done in one day, but we have a lot of fun with the students, and everybody kind of has a learning experience. They're learning things, we're always learning things, so it's great for everyone involved.
The bus travels around the country, visiting schools, music and technology conferences, and events, partnering with community and media outlets to call attention to the importance of arts and digital media education.
We get to see the impact that we're having on their lives directly. So we see the inspiration that they get just from stepping onto the bus.
Many students got to jam out, tour the bus, and ask questions about arts and digital media education. Reporting for WCTV, I'm Nick Conklin.
Hi, I'm Katherine Grant. I am a friend, a journalist, a student, and a cancer survivor. When I was 7 years old, I was diagnosed with a rare form of bone cancer called osteosarcoma.
Osteosarcoma, which is a malignant bone tumor, in other words, a cancer of the bone. And the treatment for that, as you very well know, is chemotherapy and then surgery to take it out. There's nothing that you eat or drink or anything like that. These are very rare tumors. There's only about roughly, let's say, 700 cases of osteosarcoma per year in the whole country. So it's an extremely rare type of disease and condition.
Miss Kate complained about her knee hurting. We took it easy. She stayed off of it for a couple weeks, and it was still really bothering her. She started limping. So we went and saw the family doctor. The doctor wasn't sure. He had x-rays, and that afternoon he called us and said, you need to go see a specialist. We found something on her leg bone. After that, she had an MRI on her leg, and then the biopsy, which confirmed that it was cancer. And I still, at the time of the biopsy, I was still hoping that it was just an infection. They called us back to tend to Kate as she was waking up, and I hadn't heard from the doctor yet, so I was still hopeful until the anesthesiologist, as we were tending to Kate, said, oh yes, it was cancer, and I about collapsed. I was scared that Kate would be afraid. She just had an aunt that died of cancer, and so instead of telling Kate right away that she had cancer, we told her her bones were sick.
I guess as second grade, she didn't really know what cancer was, so how our parents described it to us was that she was sick, like really sick.
And then on to a Broviac placement and chemo.
My family shaved my head, my uncle's head, and my dad's head. They did it in support of me. A couple days later, whatever hair I had left on my head started coming out in chunks. I remember if I was ever mad at someone, I would just take out a chunk of my hair and throw it at them. Juvenile, I know, but effective to get them away from you.
Every time Kate had treatment, chemotherapy, it was involved a hospital stay from anywhere from 3 to 5 days. And also with some of the chemos, it caused her blood counts to go down and so low that she would have to go in because of an infection or just to get a blood transfusion or platelets. So that was hard on the rest of our family. Fortunately, I was a stay-at-home mom, and her dad worked from home, so that helped. I stayed with Kate during the day in the hospital, and he would stay at night with her. Fortunately, we have a very close family, extended family, and they were always ready to come and help with Kate, stay with Kate in the hospital or at home. They prayed for Kate.
We had support from our friends and neighbors who brought us meals every evening when Kate was in the hospital. So we didn't have to cook, which was good because I can't cook.
You still have to do something for your leg, whether it be do the reconstruction like you had with the metal knee replacement. Some people have an amputation. So at your young age, you get a lot of growth remaining. So you're going to get taller and your legs are going to grow, but the metal implants aren't made to really grow with you unless you put in like the special implant that you have now. So that's one problem. So you got to get your legs equal length or close to it. You had a very stiff knee where your knee really wasn't bending or straightening from all the surgeries and the previous infections. So we had to get your knee working again. And then on top of it, the infection reared its head again. So those are really serious problems. And with all those things going on, the risk of an amputation or losing your leg is very, 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 very high. So the fact that you're here right now and your leg is actually attached to your body and it's working and be able to get around, that's, I think, a great victory.
And now, as of next month, she will be cancer-free. It will be 5 years out.
She told me that she's cancer-free, and I was like, yay!
She does have echocardiograms to make sure that there isn't any damage done to her heart with all the chemotherapies. She did have to have her ears checked because some of the chemo does affect your hearing. She has had lengthenings, leg lengthenings. She walks she uses her leg very well. It's very strong. Her physical therapists and doctors are very impressed at how hard she worked to get that leg strengthened and working as well as it is. I think a lot of doctors and a lot of physical therapists are very impressed with how hard she's worked and how well she can walk. She had to keep working, and we'd say, just get through this, and then there would be something else. You know, just get through the chemo, and then there was the infection. And just get through this, and then she was so weak she couldn't use her leg. And just get through this, and then there was another shot or another chemo or another infection. And she was a trooper through it all. It wasn't easy, it wasn't fun at all, but she made it through, and she's a strong person today.
Kate walks with a little bit of a limp, but for the most part she's a healthy, happy, normal, if you can call it that, teenager. And so feels like it's in the past now.
I think she expects people to be tough because she had to be.
Good morning, Toby Johnson. I'm Nick Kramer, and it's first period on February 21st, 2017.
That means it's time for First Things First on TJTV. I'm Kayla Sue.
The Franklin Community Library reopens today, 58 days after the flooding occurred from a broken spigot during winter break.
The flooding was discovered on December 26th, and significant damage was done to the library's community room and children's reading area.
Not only did the damage to the library facilities have to be repaired, but each of the 87,000 books in the library had to be checked for damage.
Thankfully, the textbook area was not affected and textbook distribution occurred as usual.
I'm sure our community members and the students at Franklin High School and Toby Johnson Middle School are happy to get their library back.
Thanks to reporter Vincent Cow for the library footage.
Virtual reality is a cool, new way to experience the world in 360 degrees.
Mrs. Zoo's class has been experimenting with Google Cardboard as a way to bring VR into the yearbook.
Reporters Hannah Vecchione and Faith Provost have the story.
I feel like I could touch. Students are experiencing something a little different. It's called Google Cardboard, a VR headset that you put your phone into and experience the world in 360-degree virtual reality. The glasses are sweeping the nation, and now they're here at Toby Johnson with thousands of places to visit.
The cool part is when you put your phone inside the lenses and it lines up with where your eyes are, now you can see like this virtual reality experience.
Very interesting.
Oh, that's so cool. So my students, when I was telling them about this, I said, is there a way for us to get this into the yearbook? And they were like, yeah, we can do that. So you're really going to be able to experience this whole year in 360-degree videos. So you'll follow our channel, and then all of the videos are going to be available for you to play back with your free Google Cardboard lenses.
The first 800 to buy a yearbook are going to get a Google Cardboard free with their yearbook. The most exciting part about this year's yearbook is being able to watch the school year in 360-degree virtual reality.
What a bonus to get Google Cardboard with your yearbook.
It's going to be great to check out the events from this year in 360 degrees.
We all know that fast food isn't the healthiest choice. However, new studies show that it isn't just the food that is unhealthy.
To hear more about this story, let's go to reporter Madison Brooks.
Thanks, Nick. In addition to the unhealthy nature of most fast food, studies are now showing that what food is wrapped in can also be a danger to your health. The waxy wrappers and boxes that are made to repel water and grease contain chemicals that may be toxic. Synthetic chemicals such as polyfluoroalkyl substances, or PFAs, were in about half of the wrappers tested. 56% of the bread and dessert wrappers, 38% of the sandwich and burger wrappers, and 20% of the boxes used for French fries and chicken nuggets tested positive for PFAs. Although the chemical is not being cooked into the food, the chemical may be transmitted to the food as it sits in the wrappers. Studies have linked exposure to PFAs to a number of health problems such as suppressed immune function, altered liver, thyroid and pancreatic function, and increased risk of cancer. While further toxicology testing is needed, greater public awareness can enable people to exert pressure on manufacturers and restaurants and to help consumers like us to make more informed choices.
That's great information, Madison. Thanks for that report.
That's another reason to eat at home.
On the way to school, most of the students from Franklin High School and Toby Johnson Middle School crossed the street at the busiest intersection of Franklin High Road and Whitelock Parkway.
In addition to the thousands of students that cross that intersection every day, there is someone out there with a mission to keep students safe.
Some people may think crossing the road is easy, but for Doris Wallace, it's big business. 80-year-old Doris Wallace has been a school crossing guard for Toby and Franklin for 11 years.
They want me to tell you a funny story? I have none, except I'm 80 years old.
She works a total of 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, with the goal of getting kids safely across the street.
I'm still out here trying to help the kids.
Whitelock and Franklin is one of the busiest intersections in the neighborhood. Working rain or shine, Doris helps an estimated 3,830 people cross the street. Doris's number one goal is to make sure
they're safe.
Reporting for TJTV, I'm Nick.
Doris Wallace has made a huge contribution to our school, and we are very grateful for her help. As we continue to celebrate Black History Month, let's go to Kulani to learn about who made the biggest contributions to racial equality.
As we continue the celebration of Black History Month, today we're going to focus on the major players of the civil rights movement that, without question, have changed our lives. These leaders include Martin Luther King Jr., a minister and social activist who led the civil rights movement in the United States from the mid-1950s until his death by assassination in 1968. He was best known for his "I Have a Dream" speech, which talked about blacks having the same rights as whites. He died fighting for this cause and will always be remembered as one of the most important civil rights leaders ever born. Rosa Parks, a simple seamstress who took one act of defiance on a bus and got the attention of the whole country, spurring the Montgomery boycott and other efforts to end segregation. She was later awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest honor a citizen can achieve. And Frederick Douglass, an abolitionist and eminent human rights leader in the anti-slavery movement, and he was the first African-American citizen to hold a high U.S. government rank. Together, these iconic figures changed the course of history and America for the better.
Thanks, Kawani.
Our lives are completely different because of their contributions. Ever since the presidential election, fake news has been big news.
Let's go to Emily Cho to learn more about fake news versus real news.
Today, fake news stories are becoming big news because of the large number of sources that are deliberately leading people to believe things that are false. It is important for all people to be able to tell the difference between real and fake news stories. So here are a few tips on how to tell the difference between real and fake news stories. First, pay attention to the domain and URL of a website. Trusted news sites end with .com, but others may contain fake news when it ends with .co or other endings. Next, check out the About Us section where you can find out about the organization's leaders and who is behind the information on the website. Quotes in the story or lack of them can also give you a clue about the news reporting. If there are quotes, look at who said them and ask yourself, are they a reliable source with a title? If there are no quotes, it may imply that your story is the reporter's opinion rather than based on fact. Check it out. Oftentimes, the comments about the story on social media can give you a clue about the truth of the story, and if no other news sources are reporting the story, it may be suspicious. Try a reverse image search on images included in the story. If the image on the site is appearing on many stories about different topics, there is a good chance that the image is being used to mislead you into believing fake news. A little investigation and common sense should help you be able to tell the difference between real news and the fake stuff.
SF Jazz is an organization that is recognized international leader in jazz creation, presentation, and education.
Recently, our school was one of 4 schools chosen to participate in a unique interactive web experience.
Let's go to TJTV reporters Jalen Tilson and Madison Brooks to see what happened during the event.
Music students at TJMS participated in a live jazz concert that was held in San Francisco and broadcasted live in an interactive forum here in Mr. Roberts' classroom. As part of the celebration of Black History Month, SF Jazz created an interactive lesson that incorporated history, great African American artists, and of course, jazz. The goal of the SF Jazz was to teach about the African American jazz artist history.
So I was excited because I'm seeing a connection between history and music being made.
Like, there's a lot of history behind jazz, and jazz is like just a great genre of music.
Toby Johnson was one of the 4 schools that was invited to participate in this interactive experience. Screens, cameras, and microphones were set up at each of the 4 schools that brought the concert into their band rooms. The setup was pretty high-tech.
The program that's being used today is called UltraGrid. It's like Skype or like Google Hangouts where you can do video conferencing.
It just opens up the walls of the classroom or a school.
In this conference, we wanted to bring high quality audio since this is a presentation about jazz that's coming from the SF Jazz.
All this technology allowed our students to have a really unique experience.
I learned about a lot of new jazz idols and people that I've never heard before.
New stuff about artists that I didn't know about and what their music is like.
Jazz is America's gift to the world.
And SF Jazz gave the gift of jazz to Toby Johnson.
Thanks, Jalen and Madison. What an amazing experience to have come to our school.
Well, that's it for today's show.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of
First Things First on TJTV. I'm Nick. Club pictures are today.
And I'm Kayla.
Make it a great day.